Hello YouTube, how's everyone doing? It's Professional here. Welcome back to my playthrough of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. So we're going to continue from where we left off yesterday, and we're going to be continuing now and starting off Barrick Van Zeek's trials. So now Van Zeek's is the one that's on trial. We're going to be defending him. So this is going to be probably the craziest case so far. Let's do this. November 2nd, 8:56 a.m. The Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber. And if you guys like this series, please do drop a like on it because it does help the series out a lot. There's that old familiar feeling again. The crushing pressure of this historic courthouse. Actually, no. It's a little different today. There's an even more menacing tension in the air. There is a menacing tension in the air here today, isn't there? I suppose. Well, looks like she predicted what we were thinking. Yes, I think so. It can only be the result of the menacing appearance of the defendant. A little more courtesy, if you please. Oh my, I do apologize. However, you're certainly not mistaken. This trial is far from ordinary. What do you mean? I'm not privy to the details, however. I understand that no jury has been selected. What? What do you mean? A trial without a jury? Well, that's just like the trial of the professor 10 years ago. A closed court. Good morning, my dear fellows. Mr. Sholmes. Have you made note of my hair, Mr. Naruhodo? An outright victory for science, you must agree. Well, his hair is back to normal. To be perfectly honest, so much happened yesterday that, well, I completely forgot about your little, hair problem. What to one man is a little hair problem is to another a day of drinking dubious, potion after potion. You have no idea how my stomach ails me this morning. Oh dear, how awful for you. I'm afraid you only have yourself to blame, Mr. Sholmes. And good morning to you, Mr. Reaper. I'm delighted to see you looking so full of vim. And I see London's celebrated great detective is as active as ever. Oh, you exaggerate, my dear fellow, compared to my paltry engagements with a few trivial cases. The Reaper's overbearing presence is far greater deterrent to the black roots of crime in our capital. And whilst I may not agree with your methods, there is at least one point in which I would readily commend you. What an honor. And that would be your eye for a good lawyer, sir. Mr. Sholmes. After all, behind this lawyer there is a very great mind, my own. What are you trying to say? I wish only to say that you should be prepared for quite a trial, Mr. Reaper. Sorry to barge in. Oh, it's Professor Mikatoba and Gina? Gina? What's that on her arm? It's a mourning band, I suppose? What is that? Father, shouldn't you be at the symposium? It's been postponed, so I have some free time. I decided to come along with the police inspector to see our country's up-and-coming student in action. I shall be very interested to see the fruits of your studies over the past year. Well, it's an honor to have you here. Let's hope there are some fruits to see. What is Gina doing here? Otto. Oh, yes, Gina? Why'd you agree to this, eh? Why'd you take him? I'm on. This Reaper bloke. Everyone says it was what killed the boss. I'm sorry, Gina, but I just don't believe that. Well, if it weren't who was it? I don't know that, yet. I don't care who calls what, the Reaper's just a name. He's just a person at the end of the day. And if it turns out it was what killed the boss, then God help him. Fiery eyes indeed. Yes, the culprit deserves every ounce of your loathing. Eh? At least, that may be some solace to the deceased. So she's still really upset over Gregson's death. But please, Otto, get whoever did this for the boss. Oh, Gina. I hate feeling this useless, but there's nothing I can do. So you've gotta find who done this and make the wretch pay. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court will be in session shortly. Make your way into the courtroom at once, please. Alright then, here we go. It's time, Mr. Naruhodo. Lord Van Zeeks. Well, this should be a very interesting trial indeed. One who lost his treasured brother to a mass murderer. One who lost his treasured father in a foreign court of law. And one who lost the man who helped her escape destitution. All that misfortune, all that pain, on course to collide headlong in this trial. It's time to shine a light on all these dark events. And whatever truth is revealed, we're going to have to look it straight in the eye. Oh, here we go. 2nd November, 9:20 a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. There's no jury. This is going to be a very strange trial indeed. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here to conduct a fair and just trial of defendant Barrick Van Zeeks. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready to begin? The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. Oh, Kazuma-sama. I've been wishing to see you in court again for so long. It feels... But I never pictured it happening like this. I never thought I'd be facing you behind the prosecution's bench. Yeah, this is gonna be very strange indeed. The so-called Reaper of the Bailey has been a scourge like no other, undermining Her Majesty's justice system. Today, we must uncover the truth behind this scourge. So are we gonna find out who's been killing those people that are found not guilty? In other words, this trial is going to be a lot more far-reaching than Inspector Gregson's murder. The truths revealed by these proceedings may have unpredictable repercussions through the judiciary. Accordingly, they are to be conducted as a closed trial with no members of the public present. By Her Majesty's direct orders, so the Queen's orders. That's Queen Victoria. How will that work, my lord? The burden of all arbitration and adjudication falls on my shoulders. Therefore, as you will see, the jurors' benches shall remain vacant today. If no members of the public are present, might I ask who is currently occupying the gallery, my lord? They are members of the judiciary, here to witness the proceedings and ensure the equitable trial. Members of the judiciary. So Strongheart is in attendance too. Oh my, this is a very unusual trial today. Already. There is, of course, another unprecedented aspect of these proceedings on which I must elaborate, and what is that, Judge? The counsels for the prosecution and the defense are both aliens of Great Britain. I believe it takes an outsider to see the truth sometimes. As I stand here in this courtroom now, I'm quite certain this is the reason why I had to come to Britain. Kazuma. Very well. Let us commence proceedings. This is going to be a very weird trial indeed. Prosecutor Asoji, your opening statement, if you please. Certainly, my lord. The incident took place on 1st November at just after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The location was a building of flats on Fresno Street on the outskirts of the city. The victim's body was discovered there in an old single-room rental property. Yes, Inspector Tobias Gregson, a name known very well indeed to this court. Not least for his miraculous resolution of one of this country's grimmest cases 10 years ago. The Professor case. How sure are you about the time of the incident? Several witnesses on the street outside heard the gunshot, and all reported the same time. Yes, that's what Gina told us too. There was a number of witnesses. I have here a plan of the room. Now look, when you have multiple witnesses, you know, that can be a good or a bad thing sometimes. It's a good thing that you have a lot of people that witness the crime, but it can also be a bad thing because there can be contradictory statements. So like one witness can claim, I saw it this way, or another witness can claim, no, I saw it this way. And the fact that all the witnesses are reporting the same time, that's kind of strange to me. Because they might have a similar time frame, but they report the exact same time. That's a bit suspicious. So like one witness might say, oh, I heard the gunshot at 1 p.m. Or another witness might say it was like 5 after 1 or 10 minutes after 1. Okay, you have like a similar time frame there. But when every single witness is saying that, oh, it happened exactly at 1 p.m., it's a little suspicious there, that every single person remembers the exact same time when it happened. The victim was found curled up in one corner. It's believed that he was shot from the front at point-blank range and died instantly. How has this range been determined? Point-blank means that it's right in front of your face, like literally 1 or 2 feet from you, so like right in front of you. That's how close the shooter was, apparently. There were scorch marks around the entry wound. Such marks are caused by the gunpowder used to fire the bullet. True. But powder hot enough to leave a scorch mark is ejected a few inches beyond the end of the barrel. But also another thing to note, and I guess Ace Attorney isn't going to have this because it would be kind of brutal, but when somebody is shot at really close range, there's high velocity blood spatter, which blood is splattered in like a very like, you know, outwards way, like it's all these little droplets all over the place, and that means that the person was shot at really close range. But they're not really mentioning that here. In other words, it only happens when the target is at point-blank range. I see, yes. Thank you for the detailed explanation, counsel. In autopsy report, Inspector Gregson's autopsy report stating that the death was instant, resulting from a bullet shot at close range. The murder weapon was found lying beside the victim. And have you managed to ascertain the owner of this firearm? No, my lord. Not conclusively. So you see, that's a hole in their argument already. Bravo, Kazuma-sama, for not trying to use the gun as evidence when its provenance can't be proven. Furthermore, my lord, as I've explained, the revolver was fired at extremely close range. The bullet passed through the victim and struck the wall behind him. There is a candelabrum mounted on the wall, and the tip of one of the candles in it was found to have blown off by the projectile. But where is the projectile? Because if it went through if a bullet would go through a person, it would definitely go through a candle, but it would stop in the wall. Or if the wall's, not strong enough, it could go outside. So where is the bullet? There should either be a hole in the wall or the bullet should be stuck in the wall. We noticed that too, didn't we? Yes, that's right. Thank you for the thorough report, counsel. The setting of the crime is clear to me. You will submit the plan of the crime scene as evidence, please. As you wish, my lord. Crime scene floor plan. A plan of the small room in the building of flats on Fresno Street where the body of the victim, Inspector Gregson, was found. Is this Fresno Street room Inspector Gregson's private abode? No, my lord. The room is rented to a Mr. Hugh Boone. But the thing is, Hugh Boone, you don't know who this Hugh Boone is. That could be Inspector Gregson for all we know, just under an alias. But there is precious little furniture inside, and is generally in poor state of repair. So what on earth was Gregson even doing there? Presumably he was investigating some case or other. Yeah, that was probably his private, place to investigate, because he probably didn't want to keep it at the police station, because there might have been some kind of corruption going on at Scotland Yard, and so he didn't want to keep all his evidence at that place. He might have wanted to keep his evidence in some apartment that he rented really on the outskirts of town. When a policeman was informed of the gunshot from the witnesses and rushed to the scene, he found only the deceased inspector and the accused standing alongside, holding the revolver. So Van Zeeks was holding the revolver. That's really bad. That's not good. That is not good. The attending officer arrested the accused on the spot. So, the details of the case are clear. In that case, the prosecution would like to call its first witness. A name, please, counsel. Naturally. The accused himself. Okay, no. This is really unrealistic right now. You can't do this. The prosecutor cannot call the defendant to testify. He or she cannot do that. Prosecutor cannot call the defendant to testify. This is Victorian era Britain, so maybe the laws were a bit different, but this is not how it works. A prosecutor cannot call the defendant to testify. That violates their constitutional rights. The defendant can testify if they want to. The defense can request it that the defendant can testify, but the defendant has no obligation to testify, and the prosecutor certainly cannot call the defendant to testify. You can't do that. Lord Van Zeeks. As a prosecutor, he believes in the oath of office he's taken, and will be compelled to tell the truth. Very well. Let the defendant take the witness stand. I never thought we'd be doing this, a cross-examination of Lord Van Zeeks. Oh man, and Lord Van Zeeks' theme is playing. So witness, state your name and occupation for the court. Barrick Van Zeeks, Old Bailey prosecutor. I presume, Lord Van Zeeks, that you heard the prosecutor Asoji's opening precis. I did. It is alleged that you were found at the scene of the crime, and that you were arrested by the arriving police officer. Can you confirm this? Yes, my lord. Then I'm sure the court would like to hear you explain some things away. Namely, why you were there in the room on Fresno Street at the time in question, and what exactly took place. I intend to explain away nothing. I will simply tell the truth. I must say, Lord Van Zeeks, I never imagined this day would come. Or rather, I didn't want to imagine it would come. But since you became known as the Reaper, a part of me has been dreading it. Your formal testimony then, witness. Let's see what Zeke says. The facts of the incident. I'm really curious what he's going to say. I was investigating Gregson, and my inquiries had led me to that address. So why was he investigating Gregson? When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside and I saw no one. Now you see, I believe him, but it's kind of weird that a prosecutor would just go by himself. The prosecutor wouldn't like send somebody else. I just think that's a bit weird. That the highest prosecutor would just, be investigating Zeeks and go on their own. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. Just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. That testimony was the whole truth. It was. So, you heard a shot being fired in a room with no living occupants. And moments later, a corpse somehow appeared before your eyes. Is that it? You're right, you haven't explained away anything. In fact, that would barely qualify as an excuse. I thought you were my, mute apprentice. Ha. Oh, what he's saying back to him. The ironic thing is that if Zeeks was the prosecutor, he probably would have said exactly what Kazuma said. That's what's ironic about that. That he would have said the exact same thing. You happen to be in that room where, like, a dead body is, and you happen to pick up a gun. So that's probably what Zeeks would have said. We've seen him prosecute so much. Yet it turns out you have a way with words, Prosecutor Asoji. It would appear to be a singular tale indeed. Singular isn't the word. It's laughable. What's got into Kazuma? He's not behaving like himself at all. This trial is probably really emotional for Susato as well. Very well then. Counsel, you may begin your cross-examination. Now this is kind of weird that the defense is cross-examining the defendant. The person they're defending. Yes, my lord. And look, now we see Kazuma on the bottom. We used to see Zeeks on the bottom. The facts of the incident. I was investigating Gregson and my inquiries had led me to that address. Why? Hold it! You were investigating the inspector. What on earth for? I'm not at liberty to say. This is really not good. This is not... He should be saying it. You know, he should. It's not good. Sorry? I identified a distinct possibility that Gregson was involved in a case I was investigating. Regrettably, though, he was killed before I could secure the proof I needed. Is the court to understand, then, that on the day in question, you followed the victim to the scene? No, I was privy to his movements in advance. How? I stole into his office in the yard and consulted his diary. The address on Fresno Street was noted in the 5 p.m. entry. You illegally entered the man's office. In Japan, that alone would constitute a very serious offense. As it does in Great Britain, I assure you. Is that not the case, Lord Van Zieks? I was aware of the possible consequences. So, in summary, you were investigating the victim. And yet, you refused to tell the court why. That's not good. That he's not telling the court. That's making him look bad. I didn't realize British prosecutors enjoyed such freedom to choose what to divulge under oath. Why did I ever think I could defend this man? When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside and I saw no one. Hold it! Had you ever been to the address before? No, never. I only learned of the place as a result of my investigations into Gregson's activities. There was no light inside when I entered, so it was all but impossible to make out anything. But now here's the question. Why was Gregson in that room in pure darkness? Like, the windows are all boarded up, so even if it's daytime, if the lights are off, you're barely gonna see a lot in that room. So why was Gregson in there with the lights off, like by himself? It's weird. But at 5 p.m., the sun would only have just gone down. It would still have been reasonably light outside, yeah, but the windows were boarded up, remember. The room has a window, but it was boarded shut, yep, like I said. Very little light found its way into the room from outside, so it was extremely murky inside. I wouldn't have noticed if the victim was already lying on the floor. That is a possibility now. Zeeks has brought up a good point. He could have already been dead. That's what could have happened, and the gunshot might have been something else entirely. There was no artificial light in the room, you say. You're quite sure. I'm quite sure that the part of the room where the body was found was very dark. I have a feeling there was a small oil lamp burning on the desk, though I couldn't say for certain. Look, Mr. Naruhodo. There is a small desk in the room just here. Yes, I remember. And there was an oil lamp on it, as well as a framed photograph. When I entered the room, I closed the door behind me and started towards the desk to investigate. And what did you find? Nothing. I never actually reached the desk. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. Hold it! So, who fired the gun? I have no idea. I didn't see anybody else in the room. But you say it was very dark in there. Yes, that's right. All I can tell you is, I didn't sense another presence. Then it could be he was probably dead already. That the gunshot actually originated from somewhere outside the room. No, that's out of the question. Oh, no. Oh. Without doubt, the sound emanated from inside the room. I could smell the gunpowder. This is going from bad to worse. And you say that that's the point at which you noticed the revolver on the floor. Correct. And I foolishly picked it up. That was carelessness on my part. Presumably then, the gunshot you heard came from the firearm that you somewhat hastily took in your hands. In point of fact, my lord, I believe it did not. What? He probably says he won't. The barrel of the revolver I picked up was cold, and there was no smell of spent powder. Yup, there. So, you know, a lot of these firearms back then were black powder firearms. Smokeless powder was developed later on, so like black powder firearms, you'd be able to smell it more. And on top of that, the barrel would be a bit warm. So, that would be a thing. So even if you fire just one bullet, the barrel would still be a little bit warm. You'd feel it, but if the gun's completely cold, it hasn't been fired. But then, where on earth is the gun that was fired? It was taken by the murderer. Whilst I would like to oblige you with an answer, I'm afraid I can't. I too would dearly like to know that. Ugh. Just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream.
Hold it!
A man, you say? One of the witnesses, I presume. That's right. One of the street merchants working on Fresno Street. Who are these merchants? A number of them had set up their stalls directly beneath the boarded window of the crime scene. A match seller, a newsmonger, and a peddler. They're all giving statements saying they heard the gunshot. And without thought of danger, they ran inside to see what had happened. Yes, Gina told us about that yesterday, didn't she? A little weird, too. You know, you hear a gunshot and you run towards the direction of the gun shooting. That's a bit weird. That is weird. I'm not saying people wouldn't do that, but that's also suspicious. That's something weird about these witnesses. They burst through the door with some force, it would seem. They did, and almost gave me a heart attack in the process. But you're supposed to be the Reaper. The first man to come in immediately noticed the revolver in my hand and fled. A policeman patrolling on Fresno Street heard the commotion, and was able to arrest the accused shortly after the incident occurred. Anyway, the man's scream drew my attention in that direction. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me.
Hold it!
What do you mean by that? In what way did the body appear? I honestly can't explain it, but it's the truth. As far as I was concerned, the body hadn't been there until that point, and then suddenly, there it was. That is very weird and creepy. Did you perhaps hear the sound of the victim falling to the ground just beforehand? At that moment, what I heard was the sound of the door flying open, and the scream of the man who came inside first, nothing more. I see. After the man fled, I examined the body. I was stunned to find that it was Gregson. Most curious circumstances indeed. How the inspector was killed, or how his body seemed to appear out of nowhere, I have no idea.
Objection!
Surely the court has heard enough. My lord, the cross-examination has clearly revealed that the accused, Barrick Van Zeeks, is lying on multiple fronts. What? What is that supposed to mean? Good gracious, counsel. The defendant is lying, you say? In his testimony just now, he claims that he failed to notice the victim's body because the room was dark. That's correct. No, that's impossible. As proven by this candelabrum. How does that prove anything? If you examine the tip of the long candle, you can see it's been blown off by a powerful impact. One would assume that the projectile from the firearm passed through the victim and struck the candle. The problem comes when you consider the other two candles, which are clearly of a different length. Yes, I can see that the only candle that appears to have been struck by the bullet is long. We could reasonably expect someone to have it all three candles together, which begs the question of why only one has ended up longer than the others. Is he saying that the bullet, when it hit the candle, it burnt out the wax? Is that what he's trying to imply? Because you really have no proof for that. You really have no proof for that. He's basically assuming that the other candles were burning. That must be because that particular candle was extinguished when the others were still burning. Ah. That's right. When the candle was hit by the bullet, it obviously went out. But the other two candles would still have been burning. So the fact is, the victim's body would have been illuminated by the light still thrown by the candelabrum. And the accused claim that he couldn't see the body clearly contradicts those facts. And now to the next lie. There's more? The accused also claims never to have visited the scene of the crime before. Well, how are you gonna prove that he was there before? That's the truth. In that almost empty room, the police discovered something very unusual. A board covered from the top to bottom in police documents and newspaper cuttings. Yes, that's right. We saw it too. It goes without saying that the contents of the police documents cannot be divulged. However, they included a number of reports from various historical cases, the oldest of which was from 10 years ago. 10 years ago? This is starting to sound familiar, the Professor case. And there is a common thread linking all the documents on that board. Indeed? What is this common thread, Counsel? They all relate to cases prosecuted in court by Barrick Van Zeeks. All of them? And furthermore, all those cases are ones in which the defendant was acquitted. Good lord. Interestingly, none of those defendants are alive today, because all of them have been sent to their graves by the Reaper. Well, you have no proof that Barrick is the one that's doing that. Ah. Oh no. In short, that dingy little room is the Reaper's secret hideout in his base of operations. Okay, no. No. He's assuming a lot of stuff. He's assuming that candles were burning. He's assuming that Barrick was in the room because there's a lot of his old cases. That's just assumptions. There's no real proof of that the candles were burning. There's no real proof of that. The candles could have been, it could have been that 2 candles had burned previously, and that 1 candle right there was just longer than the other one. That's just what it could have been. And then about these documents, Gregson could have been the one that placed all those documents there. So none of these are real proof against Barrick. The Reaper's hideout, and yet the Reaper would claim never to have been to his own secret hideout. No one would believe that. No, the truth is, we've been looking at this backwards. Backwards? Explain, Counsel. He's probably gonna claim that the Reaper was in the room and Inspector Gregson was the one who came in and stopped him, and then so Barrick shot him. That's probably what he's gonna claim. Let's see. Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper, like I said. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed, like I said, as I'm sure everyone can imagine, by the Reaper's hands. What? What? Order, order, order. Very well. I hereby state the current opinion of the court. Barrick Van Zeeks is an outstanding prosecutor who has rendered great service to his country. However, it is with deep regret that I must concur with Prosecutor Asoji's contention. There's no proof for that, Judge. He's just making assumptions that the defendant's testimony exhibits a number of stark inconsistencies with the known facts. No, it doesn't. There's nothing that he said that's inconsistent. All I have done is state the truth as I know it. Kazuma has done a brilliant job as ever. He's drawing on his experience as a defense attorney to build his prosecution case, and it's formidable. Counsel, you will submit the board that you just showed the court as evidence. I believe it to be fundamental in establishing the facts surrounding the Reaper's existence. Thank you, my lord. A freestanding notice board completely covered in notes and articles related to the victim of the Reaper of the Bailey. And now, the prosecution would like to call new witnesses to the stand. Oh, great. But you know what I'm wondering? I'm wondering whether this is the gun. This is what could have shot, this could have shot, Gregson. This thing here, look. When you twist this toy, it does that. This. I think this is a gun. I don't think it's a key, I think it's a gun. I think this is what shot Gregson. Let's look at that board also. Oh, yup, something's on the back here. What is this? This is a bloody handprint. What is this doing here? Oh, what's this? Mr. Naruhodo, look. Oh, yes. It's a smudge of some kind. In fact, it looks just like a handprint. And the color... That's blood, isn't it? Oh dear, how disturbing. Why is there blood on the back of the board? Freestanding noteboard completely covered in topics. There's a bloody handprint on the back side. Well, good thing we picked that up. There are details of a whole raft of cases dating back years on here, aren't there? This paper from 10 years ago is browning with age, look. Out of interest, the most recent thing appears to be this newspaper cutting here. Oh, It's the same red-headed leak advertisement that Mr. Sholmes had picked out. And do you remember, there was a red hairpiece at the scene too? Was Inspector Gregson an exponent of the red-headed leak then? Witnesses who saw events unfold on the day in question. They were mentioned in the previous testimony too, if you remember. Don't tell me it's gonna be those two guys that Sholmes arrested. Yes, the street sellers who heard the gunshot and went running into the room. Very well. Lead the witnesses in. The defendant may step down from the witness stand. Certainly, my lord. These are the witnesses? Is that the carriage driver? He looks like he lost his job. But remember, he took a bribe from McGilded. Beppo is his name. But, you know, Barrick Van Zeeks is knowing how it feels now because every single one of Kazuma's arguments is exactly what the Barrick would have done. So witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. Names? We don't use names. Far too fancy for the likes of us. No, you state your name to the court. You don't do that. We're just free and easy. Sell what we like, live where we want to live. I give them all vacant stare as they walk down Fresno and spit a few words into a verse for them. Would I be right in assuming that all three of you make your living by selling wares in the streets? Heh, everyone calls me gossip. I sell jauntry little to, tidbits to passers-by, you know. Jaunty little, tidbits? Got an absolute smasher for you, sir. Run up your, ginnel, it is. 6 pence is the price, and not a penny less. Wait, you're actually trying to sell it to me now? Oh, come on, sir. Don't tell me you're not interested. Try the man. Give him the money and see what it is. Pay the man, counsel. Why? Alright. 6 pence it is. You won't regret it, sir. Now, got your listening ears on. Just between us, a young couple on Slight Street have just had twins. What? Is that it? No, that's not it. It's gossip, isn't it? If it wants to spread, but that bit's up to you and your mouth, of course. I've got more, you know. Want another juicy one? 6 pence a piece it is, if you're curious. No. I am curious, yes, about what's going on just under that fat bottom lip of yours. Namely, that unusual bruise or whatever it is that's poking out from under your collar. What about the next witness, then? What names do you go by, and what do you sell? Me? I'm Venus. That's what everyone calls me. Funny, innit? I sell these lovely little fireworks to all the local school kids. Fireworks to kids? 6 pence a pop, so what do you say? You lighting that in the court? Are you crazy? You weren't exaggerating with little. Do they actually sell? Oh yeah, the second years can't get enough of my Venus firecrackers. Especially when I tell them if they got 100, they could blow up the school. Not the most savory of ideas, young lady. What'd you say then, eh? Want to part with 6 pence for a pop? Wait, what? You want me to buy one? Tell you what, I'll let you in on a little secret. If you get 100 of them, you could blow up the whole courtroom. No. Try the woman. Give her the money and see if she's right. No. Pay the woman, counsel. Why does everyone want me to buy fireworks right now? Alright. I'll buy one. Lovely stuff right then. This is something a bit extra, just for you. The Venus special, only 600 pence. 600? It's 100 of my regular fireworks. Nothing a little about that, is there? And there'd be nothing little about the punishment if I blew up the Old Paley either. The Venus firecracker, that's an evidence. The special firecracker consisting of 100 smaller fireworks at 6 pence each. What sort of bang could it make? I wonder, could that simulate a gunshot, right? Because fireworks could actually simulate a gunshot. A lot of fireworks actually have very similar sounds to gunshots. That's actually true. So a firework could definitely simulate the sound of a gunshot. So what happens is, Gregson could have been killed with that same gun, but much earlier. That's why the room could have been dark. He could have already been dead. And so that's why the barrel was cold, because he's been dead for some time. And so this firecracker might have been thrown at that same time when Barrick thought he heard a gunshot, and he turns around. That's what might have happened. He might have been smelling the firework instead of gunpowder. And the last witness. What name do you go by, and what do you sell? I'm a thinker me. Think all sorts of thoughts. I think, therefore I am. I am, therefore I think. Because I stand there on the street watching the world go on about me, they call me the observer. Get out of it, old man. Everyone calls you sandwich and you know it. So, you don't actually sell anything. Problem shared is a problem halved, as they say. I give advice, I do, and I think what it means. I don't actually sell anything, no. Come to think of it. Pity. No more purchases today, please. Well, we have quite a cast here, it seems. They conduct their business on Fresno Street from morning until night, my lord. And always in the same place, directly adjacent to the crime scene. I see. And thus they heard the gunshot, I suppose. Not only that, but they very bravely ran inside to see what was going on, and witnessed the crime. Well, I'll be, begard, I fought just between us. Venus de Milo, what am I going to do? What a terrible thing I saw. What I think is, if all what we see is light and shadow playing with our eyes, is any of it real? Very well. The court will hear the formal testimony of these 3 witnesses now. You will describe in detail what you witnessed and heard at the time of the incident. Now, this is really unrealistic because you'd never have 2 witnesses testifying at once. In fact, you never have 3 witnesses. That's even more unrealistic. But this would never happen because witnesses could contradict each other. Each witness will be testifying on their own. The witnesses' accounts. We saw it, the whole thing from start to finish. We did. Everything from the moment they went in the building. It was less than a minute after the Reaper had gone inside that we all heard a big bang. Seems to me that quick to talk is quick to walk. Gossip couldn't wait to go and see what had happened. I ran to the room, and there he was, a Reaper, gun in hand, standing over the dead body. I was scared half to death me, so I ran off to find a copper. Now, the thing about these guys is I feel like these guys are running some kind of illegal business. But not only that, it's, you know, a testimony from a guy named Gossip, yeah. If these witnesses were there the whole day and saw everything. Who did they see going inside the building? Good point, Rinosuke. Only the victim, Inspector Gregson, and the accused, Barrick Van Zeeks, no. I've seen pictures of that Reaper in the paper. I know what he looks like. And just between us, folks love stories like this. I made myself a tidy sum already. See, this witness is already discrediting himself. He's like, I made money on gossip on this. So he's basically admitting to gossiping. This is just, no. But wait, the room was just one of several flats in the building. Someone from another flat could have done it. All those flats on Fresno Street are unoccupied. Of course they are. They're small, damp, dirty, and expensive to boot. The room in which the inspector was found is the only property in the building that's currently leased. And we know the leaseholder's name, don't we? It's Hugh Boone. Talk to the landlord. Ask the landlord who this Hugh Boone was. The testimony the court has just heard would appear to leave little room for doubt. It's becoming increasingly difficult to see how anyone other than the defendant could have committed the crime. No. Thank you for your candor, my lord. Counsel for the defense, you may proceed to cross-examine the witnesses. Yes, my lord. In a close court like this, without a jury, the judge is the only person whose opinion matters. I have to break down this testimony. Somehow. We saw the whole thing from start to finish. We did everything from the moment they went in the building.
Hold it!
When you say they, who do you mean exactly? Inspector Gregson and the defendant, Lord Van Zeeks? I suppose so. The likes of us don't know the names of the high and mighty. But I'll tell you one thing. It was the old Reaper that went in last, that's for sure and certain. Just behind Inspector Gregson. Did they arrive at the same time as each other? No, not at all. The first fella must have gone inside a good 15 minutes before we heard the gunshot. So you see, he's already contradicting Kazuma's theory when Kazuma was saying before that that the inspector found the Reaper's hideout, but he's saying that Inspector Gregson got in first. The victim arrived 15 minutes before. Are you sure about that? Am I sure? Am I sure? Does it seem likely that I've forgotten a fellow with a bright red hair like that, does it? Yeah, his hair really were red, weren't it? Rather than my flaming fireworks even. Red hair. That fire red mop still burnt on the inside of my eyelids, it is. Gregson was wearing a wig. Wait a minute. You're saying the man was a redhead? Weren't you listening, chum? Aye, he was a redhead, and he had a big trunk with him as well. But Inspector Gregson's hair isn't red. Not by any stretch of the imagination. It seems likely that the person you saw wasn't in fact Inspector Gregson at all, but some other third party. Now Kazuma was probably gonna object and say that it was with the wig. No, I hate to break it to you, but the witnesses are correct. What? Just have a look at this photograph of the victim taken at the scene. Yes, that's Inspector Gregson, all right. And a red hairpiece. Ah, of course. We saw one on the floor when we investigated the scene, didn't we? I still refuse to believe Inspector Gregson wore a red hairpiece, though. Why? So then why on earth would he have to have been wearing something like that? And this is discrediting also Kazuma's theory. Why is this inspector being suspicious like this? The color does seem to suit the man, one might say. The photograph will be submitted as evidence. Please, Counselor. The photographic print of the victim, Inspector Gregson, his body appears to be tightly curled up and there's a red hairpiece on his head. And what became of the trunk that the red-headed victim was supposedly carrying? I was informed that no trunk was found at the scene. The killer took it, so it just disappeared. What do you expect us to have been watching the building every second, do you? We definitely saw I'm in the dock going in, though, no question about that. It was less than a minute after the Reaper had gone inside that we all heard a big bang.
Hold it!
By which, presumably, you mean the gunshot. I sell these little things, don't I? How would I know what a gunshot sounds like? But I've always thought it probably sounds a bit like this, doesn't it? And you say that you heard a noise almost as soon as you saw the defendant here enter the building. That's right. It was almost straight away. Bang, it went. Just like that. Well, he's the Reaper, ain't he? It's what the French call a fait accompli. When the Reaper's around, people are going in the ground. I mean, that's what he does, isn't it? I think we get the message. The Reaper couldn't allow the inspector to live after he discovered his secret hideout. There could be no clearer motive for the crime. Yes. It's certainly an eminently credible motive. Great. And at that point, you ran inside. Is that correct? But if that was the Reaper's hideout and he killed Gregson because he found it, after he shot Gregson, he would have fled the scene immediately before any witnesses arrived. Why would he still remain there? That's what's wrong with their theory. Seems to me that quick to talk is quick to walk. Gossip couldn't wait to go and see what had happened.
Hold it!
So, when Gossip ran to see what had happened, did you go too? Well, me, I'm a bit hampered, see? All the signs are that I can't move very well. You were away behind, presumably, with that sandwich board around your neck and that big sign in your hand. What a great burden you bear. Pardon me for asking, Mr. Sandwich, but is it possible you and I have met before? Yes, that's Beppo. I'm not anybody me. The signs are what makes me who I am now. I signed, therefore I am. That's Beppo. From almost a year ago. So, you weren't employed as an omnibus driver just under a year ago then. I might be mistaken, but I believe his trembling has intensified, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, I agree. He's clearly been through a lot. He got fired. Turned down King Henry Street and the Black Widower's Arms is just there. Oh dear, you've made him hide behind his sign. Life is full of surprises. I ran to the room and there he was, the Reaper gun in hand, standing over the dead body.
Hold it!
So then, you were the first person to arrive on the scene, is that right? That I was, kicked the door open like a professional I did, and yelled out, "What's going off here? You are not a professional. You don't have that right." Lord Van Zeeks claims all he heard was a man's scream though. And was it dark inside the room? No, not dark at all. There were candles burning on the wall. Really? And there was a fella collapsed on the floor. I don't believe this. Just between us, it's the first thing I noticed when I got inside. Ah, I see. Even though Lord Van Zeeks claims not to have seen any such lights on the wall, the next thing I noticed was someone standing right beside the body. The accused, Barrick Van Zeeks. That's right, the pale-faced Reaper himself. I was a little shocked, I won't deny it. I'm no lily-livered coward. I want him to add that to his testimony that he saw light in the room. I stood my ground and gave that Reaper a cold, hard stare myself. Well, what's Beppo thinking here?
Excuse me.
Do you have something to add, Mr. Sandwich? There's really nothing to me. Empty in the head I am. Just 2 slices with no middle. So I don't know what you could want with me. I think that maybe you just remembered something. Having heard Mr. Gossip's last statement, I mean. Well, what I think is, we're all nothings really. We try to dress ourselves up as something else, but at the end of the day, we're all just street sellers. That's enough of you, out of you, Sandwich. Keep your trap shut now. Unless you want us to make you into a real sandwich. He's threatening the witness right now. See, witness is intimidating another witness. When he saw the Reaper, he fell clean over on his backside. That's it? Oh, you rotten beggar. I told you to keep that a secret. He screamed, he did. Screamed and scrambled off on all 4s. That's all I wanted to say. Mr. Gossip, is this true? The floor was dead slippery, that's why. Planted my hand in a filthy pool of blood, didn't I? Yuck. What? A pool of blood, so he just contaminated the crime scene. But listen here, even when I was sprawled on the floor, I still kept giving that Reaper a cold hard stare. And don't you forget it, so was he the one who put the bloody handprint on the back of the board? Let's just go back a little. Did you say you got blood on your hand? I did. Happens to the best of us at times, doesn't it? No! No, we don't all get blood on our hands. So I was scared, so I slipped over. We can keep it just between us, can't we? No, this is going in the court record. No, Mr. Gossip. I'm going to have to ask you to add that information to your formal testimony. Oh, if I must. The witness will amend his testimony to include the aforementioned details at once. I slipped over and got blood on my hand, so I quickly wiped it off on the floor. No, he didn't wipe it on the floor, he wiped it on the board.
Hold it!
You wiped your hand on the floor. Well, who wants blood in his hand, eh? Horrible stuff. And they might have thought I'd done it. No talk. And you didn't think that might be a problem. Does it really matter if I left a few grubby handprints on the floor? They'll get cleaned up in the end, won't they? Don't make such a fuss. That's the message from all of us. Is something wrong, counsel? No, my lord. I didn't remember anything in the report about a bloody handprint on the floor. That's all. Don't come at me with all that. You can't intimidate me. I know what I did. I wiped it off. On the floor, the blood. No, you wiped it on the board. I wonder, could that be what happened? Mr. Naruhodo, I don't have all the answers yet, but I think we may have just uncovered a vital clue. I was scared after death me, so I ran off to find a copper.
Hold it!
So you didn't run into the room with your friends. I'm not that sort of girl. Sorry? I'm a timid little thing, me. I was too scared to go in there. Ah, right. I see. Old Lippy and the witch ran in there, and then I heard a sort of old lady scream. Well, that wasn't me, I swear. If I were a gentleman, I'd stake my honor on it. I wondered what on earth was going on. Which is when you went to find a policeman. And I ran into a copper as soon as I turned the corner. So I brought him straight back to the place. Didn't I do well, eh? Just between us, that copper's eyes nearly popped out of his head when he saw the Reaper. I've never felt more uncomfortable in all my life. And the defendant was arrested on the spot, I believe. Considering the catalog of killings the Reaper had carried out, it was a particularly auspicious end. If I can't find any holes in this testimony, I'm afraid a judge will give a ruling of guilty, Mr. Naruhodo. The truth is, though, their combined testimony is fairly damning. Unfortunately, there don't seem to be any obvious problems with their statements, do there? Still, if Lord Van Zeek's really is innocent, then I'm almost certain that we'll find something in there that doesn't quite add up. You don't think that one of these three could be the true culprit, do you? It's possible. I don't know, but what I do know is that there's more to this case than has yet to be brought to light. Okay, I know what I'm gonna do. But first I want to take a look at something. I want to take a look at this. Have you had an idea, Mr. Naruhodo? You're staring at the end of the string of fireworks. Sorry, it's just that it's the Venus Special. I was wondering, what 600 pence worth of fireworks would sound like? Shall we find out? What? But, she said it could blow up the courtroom. Bang. Alright, that was a fairly sizable bang. My ears are still ringing, Mr. Naruhodo. It sounded almost exactly like the Venus Special firecracker consisting of 100 smaller fireworks at 6 pence. It goes off like a gunshot. That's exactly what I wanted. Fireworks, like I said, it can simulate a gunshot sound. And look, this is where he put the handprint, on the back of this board here.
Objection!
So you wiped off the blood from your hand on the floor of the room. Are you quite sure about that? Well, what else do you expect me to have done, eh? Does it really matter?
Objection!
The police found no such handprint on the floor during their investigations. What exactly is the defense asserting?
Objection!
If you listen, you'll find out, Prosecutor Asoji. Certainly, there was no bloody handprint found on the floor. What are you trying to say? There was a handprint and blood left very clearly at the scene. On the back of this notice board. Ah, yes, indeed. Indisputably a handprint in distinctive color of blood. Ah, you're dead right, that's my right hand. I'd know it anywhere.
Objection!
The witness very definitely testified that he wiped his hand on the floor. Any handprints on the back of the board are irrelevant.
Objection!
No, they're pretty relevant. How can you say that they're not relevant? Not if the board itself has fallen over onto the floor. In that case, it's quite possible for the witness handprints to have ended up there. Just look at the floor plan of the room. That's a good point. The board could have been on the floor and then somebody put it back up. The notice board was in the opposite corner of the room to the victim, and in upright position. Even if it had somehow been toppled and was lying on the floor at the time, it would have been a considerable distance from the body, unless it was moved. I fell over when I came across the body, so I was basically right next to the corpse, not on the other side of the room. In other words, the defense's assertion is contradictory. Yes, it is. There's a very definite contradiction here, for which there must be a reason. I take it that you formulated a proper hypothesis, counsel. Regarding this apparent discrepancy between the witness's account and the handprint found at the scene. I have, my lord. The discrepancy between the witness's account and the location of the handprint is explained by... It's not another handprint. It's not false testimony. It's the board moving. I would say the board's been moved, yeah. The real contradiction here is that the handprint itself, not where it was found. As the court can see, it's upside down. Good gracious, so it is. If the witness put his hand against the board, the finger should be pointing upwards, exactly. What does that tell us? It tells one simple fact. When this handprint was made, the board must have been lying on the floor as I previously suggested, which means that after the incident, it must have been moved. Yup. I just love when that music kicks in. What?
Objection.
You're claiming that somebody moved the notice board after the shooting. Then tell the court who. I don't know that yet, but the point is, when you consider all the testimony we've heard so far, we can now be very clear on one point, and that would be the position of the notice board at the time of the incident, my lord. So, counsel, I must ask you to clarify your assertion for the court. At the time of the incident, where do you maintain a notice board was situated? It would have been like right here, like right where the body is. Like right around this area here.
Take that!
It was right here, my lord. Goodness. No. I'm afraid I don't quite see your logic. I'm disappointed, right, Inosuke? In Japan, we're taught to have patience and respect for our elders. So until his lordship sees your logic, you will know your place and not move from that spot. No, that's right! How brilliant of Kazuma almost sounded unreasonable at first, but he was just thinking of you. Unreasonable. Try unfathomable. I think I have the answer now. I mean, I'm gonna say, like the notice board was right here. It has to be right next to the victim.
Take that!
This is the only possible location, immediately adjacent to the doorway. If the court would think back to the testimony given by the defendant earlier, he said that when he entered the room, it was dark. He couldn't see the body. Baik. If the notice board had been here, the body would have been completely hidden from view, and the light from the candles would have been blocked, making the room appear darker.
Objection.
That's a good point, but the accused also claims that the victim's body simply appeared before him. That's true. Or, in his precise words, just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. I don't know about calling it a scream, but he was talking about me and no mistake. because it was me that kicked the door open. If you look again on the floor plan, consider what would happen if the door to the room was thrown open with force. Oh, I see now. I see. The door got kicked open with force. It knocked the board down. The board fell down towards Gregson here, and then what happened was the gossip came in the room, saw the blood, tripped, put his handprint on the board, and fell. The door kicked open the board and it fell. That can't. The door struck the notice board, knocking it over and making the victim's body visible. Good gracious. My client has told nothing but the truth. He has simply described what he saw. Ah, that's the first time we see Kazuma nervous now. Order, order. Counsel, how has this not come to light before now? After the incident, somebody must have righted the board and moved it into the position where the police, myself, and my colleagues saw it when we were investigating the room. But who did it? Witness, what have you to say for yourself? What? Me, my lord? You and your fellows were there at the scene before anybody else. It goes without saying that you must know something about the position of the notice board. The witnesses in the stand will testify again. You will each explain exactly what you did upon arriving at the scene of the crime. Hey, stop looking over your glasses at me. I get the message. Witness testimony. Okay, let's see what they have to say for themselves. The mystery of the moving board. I don't know anything about that there notice board. I just wiped my hand on it, that's all. Well, don't look at me. I haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with some second years at the time. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander, me. Just a sign of the crossroads of life. It was that Reaper, I bet. He's got a face that screams bored. I can't see how this changes anything anyway. The detective still died when we heard the gunshot. So none of you can elaborate further. Shaken by the crime they witnessed, and with only the light of a few candles and an oil lamp by which to see. We can't expect these witnesses to be able to give a more precise account of what happened. Well, they just messed up in their testimony. They failed to mention that. That's right, yeah. Don't pay to expect too much. It's man's endless quest for knowledge that's destroying the world. That's what I think. Do you, really? In any case, as his testimony shows, even if the notice board was moved by somebody following the incident, it makes no difference. When the gunshot rang out, the accused was the only person at the scene. In short, the only person who could possibly have committed this crime is Barrick Van Zeeks. None of this wrangling over the board changes that simple fact. Quite so, quite so. Does the defense still wish to cross-examine the witnesses despite the circumstances? Most certainly, my lord. Very well. Then you may proceed, counsel. The mystery of the moving board. I don't know anything about their notice board. I just wiped my hand on it, that's all.
Hold it!
So you admit that it was the board that you wiped your bloody hand on. Admit it. What's to admit? It's there plain as day for all to see. A smashing print of my right hand. Perhaps you wanted to hide that handprint. So you righted the notice board and pushed it into the corner, did you? No, no. Imagine the weight of that great lump. Do I look like a powerful and well-nurtured man? Well, did you see anybody else moving the board? I've got nerves of steel, I can tell you, but even I have my limits. There was a body on the floor in front of me, and the Grim Reaper himself standing over it. And there was precious little light inside either. My bottom lip was all a quiver, and Barrick Van Zeeks would have probably seen somebody moving the board. The police probably did this later on. There's some massive corruption going on here, I believe. In other words, the witness is unable to give definite testimony on that point. Yes, so it would seem. Well, don't look at me. haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with some second years at the time.
Hold it!
When you say you were doing business with them, you mean you were selling them fireworks. Yeah, what else? There's the Priory School just around the corner, see? Those cheeky little so-and-sos have got a plan to blow their school to Kingdom Come. Ha. So I've been telling on them, letting their teachers know what they're up to. Oh, you have? Yeah, wouldn't want anyone to get hurt, so I let the school know the kids are playing with dodgy toys. Then praise the Lord, the teachers take all the fireworks off him. And then praise the Lord again. The kids all come back to me to buy more. Everyone's happy, you see? What a racket. Of course, and sometimes the teachers give me a little bonus to thank me for letting them know. It's a busy old life, selling explosives. Oh, Judge is doing the same thing I was doing. Venus is a guileful goddess indeed. Well, telling barefaced lies is kind of my thing, really. I'm ever so good at it. Oh, what's this?
Excuse me.
Something wrong, Mr. Sandwich? If I said it was, could we just leave it at that? Would that be the end of it? No. No. Did Miss Venus's statement, just now bring something to mind, perhaps? Philosophical thoughts, deep. Philosophical thoughts. What? Hmm? Let's just say there was a great liar. And that great liar said without batting an eye, telling barefaced lies is kind of my thing. I'm ever so good at it. Would those words of hers be a lie too, or the truth, in which case she's not a liar? Oh, it's a hellish paradox, that one, don't you think? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. But it seems to me you're suggesting Miss Venus has been lying, are you? Sorry, everyone. What are you on about, old man? Trying to cause trouble, are you? Keep on like that. And I'll wrap your whole body in firecrackers and set them off. That'll give you something to trouble about. You have a startlingly disturbing mind behind that sweet, innocent face, young lady. She's threatening him, too, now. So, Miss Venus has lied in her testimony. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Sandwich? Well, if it means I'll be burning in hellfire for the rest of my days, so be it. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Can you elaborate, please, sir? Old Blabbermouth here headed for the room where the gunshot seemed to come from. But there was someone else who crept up the stairs behind him, too. That's right. That rotten liar over there. She went up behind Gregson into the building. She followed him. Heh. Do you mean to say that you did in fact betake yourself to the scene of the crime after all? What did I tell you, eh? I said I was good at telling barefaced lies, didn't I? You just admitted to perjury. Yes, you mentioned it. Well, that revelation rocked the whole courtroom, didn't it? Who knew firecrackers packed such a punch? So you did indeed visit the scene of the crime, did you, young lady? Good grief. Well, now you come to mention it, I suppose perhaps I do clearly remember the climbing the stairs to the room, yeah. Either you clearly remember it, or you don't. Or you don't want to, and you're lying. Well, I shall consider a fitting punishment for this perjurous act later. Good, Judge, good. She committed perjury, like I said. For the time being, you will immediately amend your testimony to reflect the truth. Oh yes, my lord. Of course. Maybe I did sneak along behind gossip and have a little peek into the room where it all happened.
Hold it!
You make a habit of lying, do you, Miss Venus? Well, I suppose so. I don't really know, to be fair. If you want my advice, though, I take everything I say with a big pinch of salt. So you're just admitting you're an unreliable witness. Get her off the stand. Alright, but you did in fact go to the room where the victim was killed on the day in question, didn't you? Oh, please. As if I would. I can't think of anything more terrifying. The truth, please. Well, alright. Just a bit, then. I mean, a girl my age is curious about stuff, you know? Did you touch anything at the scene? Oh, please. As if I would. I mean, there was a dead body on the floor. The truth, please. Well, alright. Just a bit, then. I had a look to see if there was anything I could sell. So I did give the place over and over, but it was nothing to, write about. Right. Now, I hesitate to ask, but... You didn't move the notice board by any chance, did you? Oh, please. As if I would touch anything like that. Just a few bits of loose change is all I had. The truth, please. Kazuma knows she's lying. Well, alright then. I thought there might be something worth having underneath it. So I blasted the flippin' thing. Sorry, flipped the blasted thing. You're telling us that you did move the board. I think that did slip out, didn't it? What? You daft barn pot. I don't believe it. The girl doesn't think. So, did you find anything then? Something that you might have taken, perhaps? To sell? Oh, please. I should be so unlucky in my imagination. The truth now. I might have found this old pocket watch under the notice board, I suppose. But a bit of junk like this can't be worth much, if you ask. Ah. So it was you, was it? You're the one what took it. Gina? Young lady, may I remind where you are? That watch there. That was a present to Inspector Gregson from the yard, for a big case he solved 10 years ago. The professor case, no doubt. The boss used to wind it up every evening without fail when he was waiting for his grub to come at the pub. I see. I swiped it off him once, and blimey was he upset. He gave me a right earful. Said he hadn't missed a day in the last 10 years polishing it and winding it. It meant the world to him. That watch did. Possibly not the best thing to go diving for, then. It's not all that, though. I took it to Jabez's that night to ask how much it was worth, but the old dealer wouldn't touch it. Wouldn't give me a penny for it, said it wasn't working. Knocked about, and worthless, he called it. Ah, I knew I should have lifted it. But why would the inspector carry around a broken watch? That watch must be submitted as evidence at once. Oh, please. Just so long as you promise to give it back when we're done. No, it's not yours. Not a chance. I'll swipe it from you if you try to get your grubby mitts on it again. That's enough. Hand the watch to the bailiff forthwith. Now, children. Watch your manners. Look at how this exploded from one lie. Good lord. The glass appears to be broken. More than likely, it shattered when the inspector was shot. It doesn't tick anymore either. Which is why Jabez didn't want it. What a waste, eh? Yes, indeed. It appears to have stopped at the hour of 5. So it stopped right when the gunshot was heard then. Which supports the prosecution's claim, of course. Inspector Gregson's pocket watch that he wound without fail every single day. It's no longer ticking and the glass over the face is cracked. Well, it would appear that the mystery of the moving notice board has been solved at least. And as predicted, it had very little bearing on the case. No, it has something important. Now then, continue with your cross-examination, please, counsel. I want to look at that watch. The glass over the face really is badly cracked, look. What a shame when the inspector clearly looked after it so carefully. I imagine Mr. Sholmes could repair it, don't you? Yes, I should think so. He's a very adept at things like this, a useful man to have around, in fact. But kindly remember that he's a great detective, Mr. Naruhodo, not an odd job man. Oh wait, this! Ah, that's the same shape as the toy. There's a little keyhole, can you see? The toy, the police toy, that's probably for the winder used to wind up the mechanism. It looks a little unusual, don't you think? Yes, you need just the right key to wind it, I imagine. Why do I feel as though I've seen something? Something a bit like a key that's about the right size to fit in this hole. It would be wonderful if we had the key. Let's check carefully over what we've already found. There's a tiny little stub, out from the small hole here, look. I suppose there must have been a little knob or something on that for setting the time. In that case, seeing as we know the inspector took such good care of this watch, it probably broke when the incident occurred, didn't it? Yes, of course. Which could mean that there's a small part of the watch still at the scene, maybe. Let's look at that key again here. Okay. This is for that. Miss Susato, do you think perhaps this key could be the key for Inspector Gregson's watch? Yes, it could be. I was right. Let's try it once. There's not a moment to lose. I knew it. A perfect fit. And look, the inspector's watch has started going again. Ah, so it has obviously just not been wound up, that's all. What is it, Miss Susato? Well, if the watch isn't actually broken after all, the time could have been changed. I have a feeling it could have profound implications. She's deep in thought now. Perhaps I better start thinking deeply too. Inspector Gregson's pocket watch that he wound without fail every single day. Having wound it up again, it started ticking again. Let's go back to the watch now. Okay, we've checked everything here. I don't know about anything. I'm just a bystander, me. Just a sign at the crossroads of life.
Hold it!
But you did go to see what had happened in the room, didn't you? Fresno Street is my whole world. It's all I know, and I know all of it. I have to make it my business to know if I want to hold my sign up high. So you did go to see what had happened. It's not the destination that's important. It's how you get there, isn't it? You notice the notice board in the room. If you think about it, we're both the same species, aren't we? Both different members of the sign family. What are you talking about? So if I'd spotted it, I might have tried to trip it up of a sense of rivalry, I admit. Somebody really needs to tell, you that you're Homo sapiens, not Homo Sinians. Does that mean you didn't notice the board? I can only repeat what I said before. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander, me. Just a sign at the crossroads of life. In which case, just who was responsible for moving the notice board? It was that Reaper, I bet. He's got a face that screams a board.
Hold it!
What exactly do you mean by that? Oh, come on now. Don't tell us you've not noticed. He looks like he hates everything in the world, that fella. But not notice boards, they're the one things he likes. You can see it in his eyes. I can't say I'd ever noticed. I'll tell you one thing for free, though. I never took my eyes off the man on the floor, or off the Reaper, not for a second. Sorry? Well, I was that scared I couldn't. You never know what a fiend like that might do if you look away, do you? If you didn't take your eyes off the defendant, you should be able to confirm categorically whether or not he was the one who moved the notice board. Aye, that I can. The Reaper did nothing of the sort. I can swear to that. I couldn't have missed it if he'd heavied that thing upright again and dragged it into the corner. Right. Glad we cleared that up. What happened to the face that screams bored? I feel your pain, Kazuma. I can't see how this changes anything anyway. The detective still died when we heard the gunshot. No. Somebody could have changed the time with the wind-up. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon that you all heard the loud bang, wasn't it? Maybe the notice board fell over, or maybe it didn't. Maybe I fell over, or maybe I didn't. But the Reaper's fate is sealed either way because of that gunshot we all heard. So your fate's sealed too. My fate? That's right. The defense is fated to lose, and the prosecution to win. In other words, it all hinges on that single gunshot. So if I could just find some problem with that part of their story, it may be possible to change all our fates. Of course, none of that changes the fact that I heard what I heard, does it? Not much to go on. As you pointed out, Mr. Naruhodo, there's no question that the notice board was moved, so somebody must have done it. But it did happen after the event, so maybe Kazuma is right, and it's not relevant to the case. But it seems to have been deliberately positioned as to hide, so as to hide the body from view. So I feel sure that there's some deeper significance to all of this. Yes, I know what you mean. I've no doubt that there are more clues to be uncovered. You're on the right track, I can feel it. So follow your instincts. Alright then. The watch. Let's see if this works here. I can't see how this changes anything anyway. The detective still died when we heard the gunshot. This.
Objection!
I'm afraid that's not necessarily the case. Oh? At the scene, we found this key to the winder of the inspector's pocket watch. A key? And having wound the pocket watch, we discovered that it is in fact still working. It in fact still works. You see, the watch didn't stop because it was broken at all. And that fact completely undermines one of the most fundamental premises on which this entire case has been built. Yeah. What? Order, order, order. But counsel, the watch was stopped at almost exactly 5 o'clock. It was stopped on purpose, so that you would think it was stopped at 5 o'clock. Yeah, which is when we heard the gunshot. It is exactly the hour. The time that was showing on the watch tells us nothing, other than when it wound down. It's merely a coincidence that it happened to be at 5 o'clock.
Objection!
Even if that's true, the 3 witnesses here all heard the gunshot at 5 o'clock. So that's obviously when the crime was committed.
Objection!
No, that doesn't hold. Why not? Recall what Inspector Lestrade said only moments ago. The boss used to wind it up every evening without fail when he was waiting for his grub to come at the pub. Said he hadn't missed a day in the last 10 years, polishing it and winding it. It meant the world to him. That watch did. So yes, right there. So he would have wound it up that day. He was killed earlier. The victim was in the habit of winding his watch once a day, in the evening. We can reasonably assume, therefore, that he wound the timepiece on the evening before he died as well. Yes, that would be entirely reasonable. But if that's the case, you wouldn't expect the watch to have been completely wound down by 5 o'clock the following day. Oh, well, how do you explain that? In summary, the evening before the day of the incident, when the gunshot rang out in the room, The inspector was already unable to wind his watch. You can't mean... What would stop a man winding his watch if he's been in the habit of winding it every single evening for 10 years? His death. The obvious answer is that he was already dead. Order, order. Counsel, that is a most extraordinary claim.
Objection!
Extraordinary isn't the word, it's absurd. You claim he was already dead the night before. Do you really think that Scotland Yard's coroner would have overlooked something like that? Well, you don't really have that much faith in the coroners at Scotland Yard after the last case. On that subject, there is something rather surprising. There's actually an omission in the coroner's report. The time of death is not noted. Let's see. Do we have the coroner's report here? Alright, time of death isn't noted. Victim was shot in the chest at close range from the front, resulting in instant death. Squirt marched at entry point. The bullet exited the body from behind. The caliber of the gun used matches that of standard issue firearms from members of the judiciary. Yup, time wasn't noted. Ah, that's right. Wait a minute. You're forgetting that my legs went from under me when I kicked the door in. What do you mean? Like I said, I planted my head in a dirty, great puddle of blood. Yes. So the victim's blood hadn't dried. It was fresh. He catches on fast, doesn't he?
Objection!
But that blood could be explained in any number of ways. It could have been put there afterwards. Some fresh blood could have been poured over the victim's body after he... Does my learned friend think that fresh blood is available on every street corner? He's called him a learned friend now. Ah. Well, it needn't necessarily have been human blood, of course. We've been told previously that Scotland Yard has no way to identify blood as human. The problem is currently being researched. At present, you are correct. It is beyond our abilities. So then, a chicken's blood could have been used, for example. It's certainly a possibility that it wasn't the inspector's blood at all.
Objection!
But the gunshot was heard at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That's beyond question. It was the fireworks. Is it, though? What? Given that the time of death of the victim has already been called into question, it isn't beyond the realm's possibility that when these witnesses heard wasn't a gunshot at all. Oh, please. What are you trying to say? Us lot know what we heard, and it was a loud bang that came from that there room. Now, you listen to me. A street seller's ears are his livelihood. I don't doubt your ears, sir. But all you can state with certainty is that you heard a noise. Eh? Explain yourself then, counsel. A noise that sounds like a gunshot could have been made with the fireworks.
Take that!
Something like this. The culprit could have set off one of those to fake a gunshot. Good gracious. The very fireworks that are sold by the witness. Now, hold on a minute. Are you saying I did it? No, but your fireworks should have been used. My pretty little fireworks only make a little pop anyway, see? Not 100 of them together. The Venus Special that you sell for 600 pennies sounds like this. As the court can now attest. It sounds very much like a gunshot, in fact. You're trying to suggest that somebody set one of those fireworks off at the scene. I'm suggesting that somebody knew the defendant was in the room at 5 that day, and sought to implicate him by creating a sound like a gunshot, for those peddlers on Fresno Street to hear.
Objection!
This is really good right now, we're on the right track. But even the accused himself had testified that he saw no one else in the room at the time. Whether it was a gun or a firework cracker, the only person present to cause that bang was Barrick Van Zeeks. The firecracker could have already been lit, and the person could have left the building. One whiff of a match and my firecrackers go pop, see? It's why people like them. I fear for your fingers, young lady.
Objection!
Recently, during my time here in Britain, I've learned of a very useful invention indeed. Something called a, time bomb. Good heavens, a bomb. Yes, a device that allows you to blow up whatever you like, whenever you like. Mr. Naruhodo, I worry that your unfortunate phrasing there may lead to yet another international incident. No, wait. It's the whenever you like part that's important. A time device. Yes, exactly. A time device. Something of that nature could have been planted at the scene. A device that was able to produce the sound of a gunshot long after the culprit had left. Your extravagant claim will have to be substantiated with evidence, counsel. What proof do you have to suggest in any way that time device would employ to create the gunshot sound? Okay, there has to be some proof. Wait. I wonder if the time device could have been the candle. No, maybe that's a little too far-fetched. I wonder. Could it have been Inspector Gregson's pocket watch that could have been tied to the device? Is that it? Could that really have been it? I wonder, let's see.
Take that!
You're suggesting that this could have been used as some sort of time delay device? I did think so, my lord. But it's becoming increasingly clear that we've all been very misguided here.
Objection!
Yes, by you. What? No, counsel, the time has come for a penalty without delay. No time to clear the area before the blast. Your extravagant claim will have to be substantiated with evidence, counsel. What proof do you have to suggest in any way that a time device was employed to create a gunshot? It's not the fireworks, because we've already shown that. I doubt the firecrackers would be enough force to knock the board down. I mean, that was knocked down by the door when it was kicked. Wait a second, didn't Barrick Van Zeek say that he saw a lamp burning? He said he saw a lamp burning in the corner. That could have been the device. No, no. 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 This is definitely the trickiest part right now. A time device. Time device. Let's try this.
Take that!
No, damn.
Objection!
No, it's not it. I'm not in a good state right now. It could be the policeman figure. Wait a second, wait.
Take that! Objection!
I wonder if it's the candles now. I made a lot of mistakes here. I wonder if could the candles have been used as a time device? Is that even possible? That when it gets to a certain length, that the candle would light the fireworks? That could be it. I think it's the candle. I've made so many mistakes, but the answer is right in front of me. I'm pretty sure it's the candle. I'm gonna save, just to be safe. I'll say it's the candle. That's the only other thing I can think of. There's nothing else.
Take that!
As the court has already discussed, I was right. It's the candle. I felt stupid that I said the pocket watch. But now that I think about it, it's not a bomb like dynamite. It's a firework. It's on a match. It's based on somebody had messed with the candles. As the court has already discussed, the tip of one of the candles in the candelabrum has been blown off. That's why there's no gunshot in the wall. Indeed, because it was struck by the bullet, which presumably passed through the victim. I don't think that's possible, my lord. Not possible. Why? Because of the scorching. There are gunpowder scorch marks clearly visible on the broken candle. There are. Goodness, yes. But is it not the case that there was also scorching on the victim around the bullet entry wound? That's right, there was. But as we heard earlier, scorching like that only occurs when the target is at very close range, a matter of centimeters from the gun. Ah. Which means that the scorching on the candle can't possibly be the result of a gunshot. You're suggesting it came from the fireworks. How can that be, eh? The fact that there is such visible scorching on the candle suggests that the fireworks must have been right next to it when they exploded. Or to put it another way, the candle and firecrackers were joined together. Exactly. Yup, just like that. The culprit somehow attached the fireworks at a point, part way down the candle. After the killer had left the scene, the candle slowly burnt, along with the other two. Until eventually it ignited the fuse of the firecrackers, generating a loud bang. And that is how these three witnesses came to believe they'd heard a gunshot at 5 o'clock. Well, what a plot. And this implies the victim could have died earlier than we've been led to believe. The previous day, even. Now just hold your horses. All us lot saw the victim going in the building, remember? I couldn't forget that flame-colored hair, even if I wanted to. But the murderer could have been wearing a wig also, a red wig. The person you saw entering the building wasn't the victim at all. Consider this. Ah. Obviously, anybody can wear a wig. So the person that these witnesses saw entering the building 15 minutes before the incident occurred could easily have been someone else entirely, wearing the red hairpiece. Someone else? Do you mean to say it was the same person who contrived the firecrackers trick? In other words, Inspector Gregson's killer. Piffed. What's he laughing about? Oh, very impressive, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Kazuma? I'm really quite amazed you come this far. But after all, wasn't I the one who told you that you had all the makings of a great defense lawyer? I also noted the lack of a time of death in this report, a stark omission. But as far as I'm concerned, this whole country's justice system leaves a lot to be desired. Order, order, order. Prosecutor Asoji, what on earth do you mean by that statement? I hear that many of the leading members of Britain's judiciary are present to observe this trial today, so we cannot allow even the slightest doubt to be overlooked. The defense's assertion about the time of death based on the victim's stopwatch is just conjecture. But, while the possibility exists that my learned friend may be correct, we have a duty to explore it. Well, certainly, I would agree with you. And what immediately comes to mind is, of course, what was Inspector Gregson doing, and where did he go on the day before the incident? Do you know? The inspector always carried out his investigation work alone. His movements were treated as confidential within Scotland Yard. Even within the Yard. However, considering the evidence we've been presented with so far, I'd say it's fairly apparent what case the man was pursuing, wouldn't you, my learned friend? I do have a feeling about what case he might have been investigating. Yes, I agree, surely. My lord, the defense believes it can explain to the court the case that was being investigated by Inspector Gregson at the time of his death. Very well, counsel. Present your argument to the court. What evidence is suggestive of the case being investigated by the inspector on the day prior to the incident? I'd say the Mr. Vigil one, or the red-headed one, but I'd say Mr. Vigil, more of it. I'm just gonna save just to be safe here. Let's see.
Take that!
I can't say that I find your answer suggestive of anything in particular. Other than perhaps that it is utterly wrong. That much you have clarified most expertly. No. It's the wig at the scene. I'm gonna say the Red-Headed League article. Let's see.
Take that!
I believe this red hairpiece points to the answer. We might assume it was part of a disguise used to carry out an undercover investigation. Surely not. Such a bright-colored hairpiece would only serve to make the inspector more noticeable. The killer put that on the inspector. The killer walked into the building so that people would think that's the inspector. Yes, that's quite true. It would definitely have made him stand out in a crowd. Except, that is, in a crowd of gentlemen from the Red-Headed League. The Red-Headed League. So, you'd already worked it out. What on earth is this all about? Is there such an extraordinary league of gentlemen? The Red-Headed League is currently under investigation for a grand deception. A deception of what nature, counsel? They've been targeting red-headed men across all of London and tricking them out of small sums of money. 2 men were arrested for the misdemeanor only yesterday, in fact. My lord, the defense calls for those 2 men to be summoned at once. 2 redheads. Inspector Gregson clearly infiltrated the Red-Headed League using this hairpiece, so it's very likely that he had direct contact with these criminals. And it's quite possible that such contact led to more serious events. I concur that we cannot in good conscience leave this new avenue unexplored. Well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, it's another possible line of inquiry for us at least. The prosecution will make immediate arrangements for the charged men to appear. Bring these 2 Red-Headed League conspirators before me, Prosecutor Asoji. At once, my lord. Very good. We will have a 30-minute recess. Court is adjourned. To be continued. So it leaves off here. So we're gonna have to find out exactly what's going on. This case is getting crazier and crazier here. I feel like there's a giant conspiracy involved here. But thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed this, please do drop a like. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone.